Hello and welcome to GC 360. I'm Brooke Wallace.
And I'm Hunter Marks. On this edition of GC 360, this could be how the robbers escaped. We reconstruct a crime that victimized one of GC 360's own.
A heart-pounding game keeps Julia Tartar in the hearts of Georgia College students.
Art that stops you in your tracks. It's the art department's senior exhibit. All this and more on this edition of GC 360. A few weeks ago, the threat of crime became very real to all of us here at GC 360 when our director, Chad Patterson, became the victim of a burglary. Reporter Tristan Harrison tells us what happened that night.
The Georgia College students who live in this house thought they were safe and secure. However, the events on October 22nd proved them wrong.
I walked out here and, my roommate's room over there, you can see the light at the top of his room, and that's when I saw his light turn on. And that's when both of myself and Bennett, my other roommate, really freaked out. And so I actually grabbed my knife and was going to walk in there, and Bennett pulled me back, and that's when I called the cops. We locked ourselves in the room with my dog and just called the cops, and then they got here, and they came in with their guns drawn.
When I got here, there was about probably 8 cops here. And so I really didn't feel scared because it was 8 cops here. So I ran in the house before they did. They told me I had to get out, and they kind of surveyed the area.
Cash, a watch, and prescription medication were taken from 2 different rooms, one of which was ransacked.
My room was basically torn apart. He was trying to get out the window because when Chad and Bennett walked in, he was trying to find a way to escape, so he basically ripped my blinds off my window. All my drawers were open. I had a bag that I had carried home with me the weekend before that still had some clothes in it that was turned upside down and emptied out. Everything was ripped off my bed. My room was, he basically tore my room up.
Police believe the suspect escaped out the back door and into these woods.
And I think he just went out the back door.
Yeah.
And just went back into the woods because there's woods all around us.
The suspect possibly came prepared as they had a way to distract the dog.
So I opened the door, and he's sitting on the bed with a jar of peanut butter. At that point, I'm just like, well, something's not right already.
This robbery has affected the residents' sense of security.
I was telling my roommates, I've been in college for 5 years now, and I don't think I've ever locked my door once. Nobody's ever broke in. So it was just kind of weird to me that it happened.
The investigation is still ongoing, and police have not apprehended the suspect yet. Reporting for GC 360, I'm Tristan Harrison.
SGA had its first ever open meeting on Front Campus last Friday at 2 p.m. It was meant to engage students and let them know that anyone can attend SGA meetings. Some of the high points of the meeting were conversations about Georgia College's transportation services and installing TVs at shuttle stops. SGA President Victoria Faree spoke about a group meeting for homecoming and the success of the late-night shuttle bus service. Although SGA is aiming for more openness, for the time being, this will be the first and last Front Campus meeting.
Last Tuesday, Milledgeville voters got the chance to elect local leaders. It turned out to be less of a fight than some expected for mayor and city council. All of the incumbents won in the elections that were contested. The only new face on the council is 25-year-old Walter Reynolds, who ran unopposed in District 4. Incumbent Mayor Richard Bentley defeated 87-year-old challenger Johnny Grant Sr., a former mayor. Only 20% of voters showed up to the polls to cast ballots.
Last Wednesday, Democratic State Senator Jason Carter announced his bid for governor. Carter will try to get the nomination to challenge Nathan Deal in a gubernatorial race that will test the Republicans' 12-year grip on the state's highest office. Carter follows in the footsteps of his grandfather, former President of the United States and Governor of Georgia, Jimmy Carter. Carter's challenge comes at a time when demographic shifts, disenfranchised voters, and tough Republican primaries could create a perfect storm for 2014 that could see Democrats win. Democrats are expected to invest heavily in the state next year, with money flowing both from within the state and outside of it, in ways that have never been seen before. Carter represents fiscally conservative Democrats that have garnered lots of respect on both sides of the aisle. The gubernatorial election will take place in 2014.
Ask any politician in Milledgeville what the #1 issue is for the community, and you'll likely hear 2 words: job loss. Sadly, there's more to come, as GC360's Lauren Bensman found out by traveling north of the city to the banks of Lake Sinclair.
Hard times have hit Milledgeville in recent years as several large businesses shut down and hundreds of people lost their jobs, and it may be about to get worse. After 50 years in the community, Georgia Power's Milledgeville branch is closing. Due to developments in technology and subsequent changes in regulations, 15 coal-fired generating units in the state of Georgia are being retired. The Milledgeville branch plans to have all units shut down by April.
Well, certainly the financial crisis hit everyone, so it certainly hit Milledgeville, and Milledgeville's unemployment rate is higher than the Georgia unemployment rate, so maybe it hit us a little harder.
A representative from the Georgia Power Milledgeville branch said that they are trying to minimize the impact the shutdown will have on Milledgeville's economy, but about 180 jobs will disappear when the plant closes.
Closure of the power plant is definitely going to be a hit for the Milledgeville economy, I'm sure, with all those jobs. If they're trying to transfer people, that's going to be population leaving Milledgeville, which is also not good for the economy. So, we can recover from it, I'm sure, but we may be moving more into more retail and sales type jobs, more so than power plant. It may affect them in terms of other jobs. So if you have a waitress job, for example, and lots of power plant people lose their jobs and they're not in the restaurants as much, then you might get fewer tips, less hours, fewer jobs available there. So it may affect students that are working in those sales jobs.
Reporting for GC360, this is Lauren Bensman.
When we come back, a student-run organization adopts a public screen space. This and more coming up on GC360.
Welcome back to GC360. A student-run, community-based group is making strides toward creating a more unified Milledgeville. Reporter Ayla Bishop brings us the story.
What comes to mind when you think of Milledgeville? A city or a college? A clear divide exists between the community of Milledgeville and Georgia College. One organization seeks to bridge that gap.
The plenum's main mission is to unite different organizations around Milledgeville, like churches or just Habitat for Humanity or anything like that, individuals as well, and unite around common goals that we can share.
The plenum has adopted Bonner Park as part of their initiative to find common ground.
Some of the trees that needed to be trimmed, they did some maintenance on the swing. They put some sod down, and they did clean up, and they also did a pressure washer at the bathroom located near the basketball court.
We chose to adopt the pits for several reasons. It's really close by to the college, but it's not quite on the college. And I thought maybe that would interest the college and get the school involved in what we're doing, because I feel like it's in their interest. But also just from personal experience, I use the park a lot. And I know that it's really, really highly used, but not really well maintained. And I felt like that was something we could capitalize on.
The group enforces a strict no leadership policy, hoping to encourage equality and democracy on an open forum.
Also, the plenum is focused on a process of democracy so that everyone has an equal chance to get their piece, have their say, and then we all come together as equals and we decide what to do and where to go from there. The plenum meets Mondays at 5 o'clock in the MSU Lounge, which is right by the GCSU front campus Chick-fil-A.
If the plenum accomplishes their goals, They hope to see Milledgeville begin to be identified as more than just a city or a college.
Veterans Day had special meaning at the Georgia War Veterans Home in Milledgeville. The home provides care and a place to live for veterans who cannot take care of themselves. And that made this year's Veterans Day ceremony all the more poignant. Our reporter, Iris Cochran, brings us the story.
It's November 11th, and we are at the Georgia War Veterans Home to celebrate Veterans Day. The citizens of Georgia and the United States of America live in freedom because of the contributions and personal sacrifices made by those who have served and by those now serving in armed forces.
It's really important that we recognize them. We have veterans here from World War II, we have veterans here from the Korean War, the Vietnam War, we have veterans here from the Gulf War conflicts. So we're really excited to have the opportunity to honor those guys and those ladies. We actually have some female veterans here also.
Yes, we've got our annual Veterans Day ceremony, November 11th, 11 a.m. This is where we honor all the veterans for their service, sacrifices, and the rights that they have given us through their war days. We've invited the community. We've got representatives from the volunteer organizations, local dignitaries, the mayor, city council, commissioners, Representative Kidd, and the fire department's police chief, sheriff, try to encourage them to come out.
The state of Georgia is home to more than 776,000 veterans and tens of thousands of our nation's military families.
Well, I have told many people this, and some of them have wound up here, I'll say. This is a great place to call home. I had to sell my house and everything. My wife passed away while I was in the hospital. And so I just sold out everything, because there wasn't no need in paying rent and taxes and everything on something I couldn't use. So this is my new permanent home, and I enjoy it. Everyone is great. Great bunch of CNAs, nurses, the whole 9 yards.
We are proud to recognize our country's veterans and to the men and women who have put their lives on the line because of the citizens who wear the uniforms of the United States Armed Forces, preserve freedom and liberty. Veterans of foreign wars are here to celebrate and honor their fellow servicemen and women.
We're just here to show our support and give a warm welcome to all the veterans that gave back to our wonderful nation.
Happy Veterans Day, reporting for GC360, Iris Cochran.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, SAE and FIMU remember Julia Tartar in a unique and heart-racing way.
The Georgia college community is making sure Julia Tartar will never be forgotten. Julia was killed in a tragic car accident in Atlanta just before the start of the semester. Last week, FIMU and SAE held a dodgeball game in her name to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. Reporter Morgan Metraw has the story.
Set. Dodgeball. The Wellness Center hosted a dodgeball tournament on November 6th in remembrance of Julia Tartar, a Georgia college student who passed away on August 10th of this year. The Georgia college community has come together quite a few times to celebrate the life of Julia Tartar. Julia was an active member of FIMU during the years she spent in Milledgeville. The Sisters of FIMU joined with the Brothers of SAE to put together the tournament. An entry fee of $50 was required for a team of 8. All proceeds benefited Children's Miracle Network hospitals. The turnout from players and fans was impressive. The rules allowed 7 on the court at a time, with 1 sub available. Elliot Payne officiated the tournament and is proud to have been part of this good cause.
All right, so yeah, basically SAE and FIMU organized this dodgeball tournament in honor of Julia Tartar, who recently tragically passed away. I believe it raised around $800, and it's just refreshing to see so many members of the Greek community come together and do such a great thing for the community.
So it's going to be the white lines as the boundary.
That white line? Yeah, the volleyball court. No.
The brothers of SAE had the final say on who was safe and who was out. Morgan Metra, GC360 reporting.
Now it's time for a campus sports update, brought to you by none other than sports reporter Nick Landon. Nick?
All right, guys, one of Georgia College's own intramural flag football teams is seeing success outside of our own rec sports. The team GC Williams, formerly known as Hit Squad, reached the state tournament this past season, finishing second and just missing out on the national tournament. I got the chance to catch a game and chat with members of the team to talk about flag football and intramural sports at Georgia College.
Georgia College's intramural sports have consistently been regarded as some of the best in the Southeast, and one of GC's own intramural flag football teams by the name of Hit Squad, now called GC Williams, was the runner-up to the state title this past season. Georgia College juniors Joe Outlaw and Zach Weber tell us about how they ended up playing flag football at Georgia College.
We started off, flag football's the first season of the year, so we came in as freshmen, and they introduced me to a guy named Mike Palumbo, who's on staff with Campus Outreach, and they start teams in the dorms. And so we all started on a team that he joined. I joined up with them, and that kind of got us into intramurals.
Varsity football deals with extensive scouting and recruiting methods, but Weber says that putting an intramural flag team on the field is as easy as getting a few friends together.
No, it's not hard to get a team together when you have a bunch of friends who want to hang with you, have a good time, play some football, just spend time together. It's not that hard.
Outlaw and Weber say being able to relive all the excitement of high school football with your friends is one of the biggest perks of playing intramural sports.
It's one of the best parts about it is playing with your friends. I got this guy from high school and a couple other buddies I've been playing with, and we got natural chemistry from playing together, and then we even run a lot of the same plays from high school.
It's fun to be able to carry on something that we did in high school, to keep hanging out with friends that we were hanging out with for basically all our childhood.
Flag football isn't quite as intense as its full contact counterpart, but Outlaw says the sport demands a different kind of intensity, and sometimes feels a lot like it did on football Friday nights during their high school days.
Non-contact flag football, so the rules are you're not supposed to run into each other, but I mean it's still football in a lot of ways, so you get a lot of big hits and contact, and it definitely gets intense. We're not in pads, but I mean you sometimes get the feel of high school football again.
As the second flag football season of the semester is underway, GC Williams is looking for another intramural championship at Georgia College, as well as the big win in state this season. Reporting for GC360, this is Nick Landon.
Our athlete of the week, freshman volleyball player Caroline Ham, was able to sit down with us and talk about her first collegiate season on Georgia College's new volleyball team.
Well, my entire family's been playing volleyball, pretty much all my relatives play, from the cousins to aunts, and even my grandparents probably even played a little bit. So it's just been in the family line. I fell in love with the campus, so I wanted to go here regardless because my sister also goes here. And then Gretchen, the coach, just started talking to me, and it was just a perfect fit for me. Everything was just awesome. It's really exciting because we get to set our own traditions. We get to decide how everything is done because we're the first, and it just sticks with us then. To get to the next level, we just need our experience. We're a young team obviously, and I think with time we'll build up to be that really strong team and take the conference. It would hopefully a little bit bigger. Next season I just see us getting even stronger. Right now we're right there, we're taking all these games, we're taking everyone to more than 3 games, or they're all really close games. So next season I think we're gonna it's going to be the breaking point where we can push past and take those close games. And you're grouped with a bunch of people that you have to spend so much time with, you just become close. And everyone's going through the same stuff. We all have classes, and we're all trying to adjust to college. So that actually probably brought us even closer. We wanted to be like a good team that like gets along and just has like good morale. And like although like our record isn't great, like we've maintained like our attitudes, and I think that's one of the most important things about like being on a team, because if you don't have that, then like it doesn't matter how good you are if you can't play together as a team. So I think we've definitely accomplished that. So next season I think we're gonna like, it's gonna be like the breaking point where we can push past and like take those close games.
It was a good week overall for Bobcats sports. The Bobcats soccer team finished second in the Peach Belt Conference tournament this week after their dream run fell just short as they fell to Clayton State in a penalty shootout 4-2. Bobcats came into the tournament as a 6th seed and played to their full potential, shocking the PBC as the Bobcats reached the finals after defeating the number 3 and 2 seeds to advance to play top seed Clayton State in the finals. The Bobcats finished the season with a record of 10 wins, 7 losses, and 3 ties, with plenty to look forward to next fall. Bobcat basketball also got off to a good start for both the men's and women's teams. The Lady Bobcats defeated West Georgia to begin their season 65-61. Bobcats were led off the bench by senior Brandy McKinney's 20 points. The Bobcats men's basketball team also started off the season on a high note, defeating Clark Atlanta 95-82 at the Centennial Center Monday. The Bobcats finished with 5 players scoring in double digits, led by sophomore guard Terrell Harris with 19 points. The Bobcats are back in action this weekend as they compete in the Payne College Classic in Augusta. And other big sporting news, the Atlanta Braves are moving to the suburbs. The Braves announced yesterday that they will be moving approximately 10 miles north of downtown Atlanta to a new state-of-the-art stadium in Cobb County, near the intersection of Interstate 75 and 285. The move is mostly based around placing the stadium in the center of their fan base, as the majority of ticket holders live north of the city of Atlanta, and to provide a better experience for the Braves faithful. With $450 million in support for the move by Cobb County, the city of Atlanta could not come to an agreement with an amount to keep the Braves downtown, as the city would have amassed huge amounts of debts to make structural improvements to Turner Field. The Braves will enter the stadium at the start of the 2017 season. As for Turner Field, Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed said it will be demolished and, quote-unquote, developed into one of the largest developments for middle-class people the city of Atlanta has ever seen. That's all I've got this week in sports, you guys. Back to you, Hunter.
Thanks for the scoop, Nick. When we come back, reporter Betsy Lamb explains how running a one-day business is a piece of cake. Stay tuned.
Seniors in the Georgia College Art Department are putting their talents on display. Their art show is open to the public. Some of the works on display are provocative, as reporter Lauren Childers found out. We have to warn you that if you are offended by art that takes on sexuality and violence, now would be the time to turn away. Here's Lauren's report.
Coming to grips with sexuality, horror, and beauty. A grim day off. These are just some of the pieces in the senior art show called Merge. The art on display ranged from photography to life-size sculptures and drawings to video games. This is the first time both the studio and fine arts programs have been combined at Georgia College. Carissa Duffy's art is all about personal identity, sexuality, and absurdity.
I chose to go with an installation because I really wanted to open up the space and create this environment where that sort of liberation is encouraged. And these sculptures illustrate, or I hope they do anyway, kind of a transgressional approach to this search, which is kind of breaking social confines through illicit or even bizarre ways in order to kind of find the true self.
Dovey Chapman calls her series of drawings flux, and she says she's blurring the lines between the beautiful and the grotesque. Kelly Self believes in the power of humor to help people get through hard times.
And the second painting is called Still Life on Toilet. It is a juvenile parody type of humor. The reason why it's a parody is because it's making fun of the idea of still life in itself. It's on a toilet. None of these mean anything at all. This is Morgan Freeman.
Rachel Bryan likes interior design, but she makes her rooms outside.
The places that they're taken are significant to me because it's my family's land and it's been in my family for years. And also the furniture and the objects are my household objects in my family. They're also kind of about growing up and playing outside, and kind of now that I'm grown up, I was allowed to take my parents' furniture outside, and my mom allowed me to, and create these worlds where I would want to escape to not face growing up, really.
Ben Battles used drawings from children to create the characters in his video game that is filled with surprises and secret levels. You can even create your own character. This show will be on display until November 26th in Blackbridge Hall. Reporting for GC 360, I'm Lauren Childers.
Attention Cupcake Lovers. This week, Betsy Lamb takes us behind the counter at Doodle's Cupcake Bakery.
These are both chocolate vanilla. This is the lemon cheesecake. It's a vanilla cake with lemon curd filling. This is the red velvet cake.
Doodle's Cupcake Bakery is a local business unlike any other around Milledgeville. It's only open one day a week. We sat down with Keith Grant to find out more about this small place with a big flavor.
I rode by and saw that the house was available for sale, and I wanted to use the house to do events and parties, but I needed something else in here in between times, and so I thought, well, a cupcake shop would be just the thing, because there's not one here and everybody loves a cupcake.
So how is it possible to run a business only one day a week?
Here we start out early in the morning. Miss Keith bakes. We get everything set up and I ice and just go until we run out. Miss Keith, did have to teach me. It took a few weeks for me to actually learn and get to where I was good at icing cupcakes.
So what's the secret behind all the delicious flavors?
I've gotten a lot of recipes from my mother and my grandmother, and they were avid bakers. My mother still is. As a matter of fact, we developed the cheese straw recipe ourselves.
A lot of them we try and discuss, between us each week, just like, hey, this sounds good or something like that. And, of course, we're constantly Pinteresting, we can't help it, typical females.
I think it gives everybody something to look forward to, just the one day a week.
So do your sweet tooth a favor and stop by Doodle's to get your fix. For GC 360, I'm Betsy Lamb.
That's it for us today. I'm Brooke Wallace.
And I'm Hunter Marks. We'll see you next week on GC 360.